There are three things that I want you to know about autism and autism parenting. Hi, I'm Dr. Bergina, double board certified psychiatrist and lifestyle medicine. I'm also the mom of as a part of a neurodiverse family, and I have at least one child on the autism spectrum. I get to see things from all different angles. So I'm going to be talking to you about my personal perspective as well as my professional perspective. I think I got street cred and receipts for both, but I will tell you that professionally we do autism evaluations, so we get to see and diagnose people, youngsters and adults, right? Our late, I don't want to say late bloomers, but are people that get labeled a little later in life. I also get to do the accommodation evaluations, and in some cases, depending on what people are coming to us for, forensic or independent medical evaluations for people who have a variety of neurodiversity and need accommodations and such. As a mom, I'm the one that gets to help coordinate with the coordinating center and with the doctor's appointments and with all the other things. So, three things that I thought were really important, especially in light of current events. I am going to give a little bit of I don't want to say spoiler alert, but a little bit of um, a nervous system break, a nervous system dysregulation warning. How about I put it that way? I don't want to say a trigger alert because that's been used too much. But all of these things are going to come from the perspective of the things that we as autism parents will do that the average parent is not going to do, or a person that's a part of a neurodiverse family, the things that we're going to do or have learned to do or not do that the average person wouldn't do. And I'll try to count down from importance in my mind, but they're all equally important. So the first that you might not know is where, you know how they say it's kind of like the first responder thing? When there's a fire, when there's a catastrophe, when there's a crisis, you often get a lot of looky-loos like, hey, what's going on? That's why traffic gets held up, right? You got looky-loos that are, oh my God, look at that. Oh my gosh, my perspective is if you're not going to pray and stop and help, then pray and keep moving, right? So that the traffic doesn't build up behind you. But like with typical first responders, when everybody else is running from danger, we're running towards it. As a psychiatrist, as a medical professional, as a physician, I see something happen, I'm running towards the danger. Police officers, firefighters, we're running towards the danger as opposed to running away. We're immediately trying to take charge and take leadership. It's not that we're naturally bossy people. It's not that. It's that either as a result of the training we've had professionally and or the training that we've had as parents of kids who are on the spectrum, we are almost always going to run towards danger, run towards crisis, as opposed to running away. Because we never know whose child it is or which adult it is that might need help. And we're always part of the front line that's helping and making sure that we're available. Recently, there was a car accident out in front of our office, and my first impulse was to run there. I stopped long enough to tell the nurse practitioner in my office, there's a car accident on the corner of X and X, call 911. And then I'm running towards where the accident was because I could see the latter part of the accident and I could see that the airbags had deployed. Car's obviously totaled. I wanted to make sure that the people that were in the car were safe. Okay. So that's a professional / lay example, I guess, that I would give. Another one is if I see a child just randomly wandering, I'm not trying to be nosy. I'm not trying to get in your business. It's not that. I have so much training as a professional, but then also the training as a mom. Immediately, I'm thinking, is this child safe? Is their parent safe? Are they a person that's neurodivergent? Have they been lost? Are they able to communicate? Are they able to let me know that they're okay or let us know that things are fine? Okay. So the first thing I'm doing is just immediately going into what do I need to do to support and secure the safety of this child or this person that looks like they're lost and wandering. Doesn't really matter where it is. Doesn't matter if I'm in state, out of state, in country, out of country. I mean, I know the language, but if I see, and it's almost like we've got a radar as autism parents. It is. I will see other parents do the same thing. Different nationalities, different racial backgrounds, different ethnicities. One woman who was Asian was looking, and she's kind of looking. And then she comes to me and she says, is your son on the spectrum? I say, yes, ma'am, he is. She said, I thought so. My son is as well, and then she just gave me some random comment, but it was kind of like, you're doing a good job. Keep up the good work. Cause she got it. She totally got it. And that was it. Just a very quick encounter. So that's number 3. We kind of recognize who might be within our community. Medical professionals can do it too, especially if there's certain features. We often will hand out unsolicited advice, usually more unsolicited encouragement, not advice. We will hand out unsolicited encouragement. I saw a person with Down syndrome. I was walking past them and I just said, hey, love that sparkly pink you're wearing. And she said, oh, thank you. I love your hair. And that was it. Now, I'm not saying that neurotypical people don't do that. Of course, neurotypical people do that. Of course. I think it's just, if you are a person that's on any spectrum that has any different ability, it's like a radar. It's like, okay, this person likely has special needs, and you're looking out for that. They're looking out for it. They're looking out for you. There were some teenagers that came in our neighborhood at one point, don't look like everybody else in the community. We'll leave it right there. And officers just kind of showed up. There were like 3 officers that showed up, and the 3 officers did not look like the young men that were asked to sit on the sidewalk and just kind of wait for adults to figure out what was going on. My husband, now I don't know if these kids were on the spectrum or not, but anyone that looks like they might have a different need, whether it is a different neurotypical need or a different justice need, we are going to make sure that they're okay. And so my husband just kind of stood there as a millicent bystander. But anyway, he just stood there, and the officers were like, can we help you? And he's like, no, nothing. I'm just here. These are young men. They're obviously underage. They really have no one to represent them right now. They have no one to advocate for them right now. I'm just here. I can tell you 9 times out of 10, that advocate is someone that gets it, right? They may or may not be an autism family member. I'm not saying that. But I can tell you that predominantly we're out there on the sidelines. We're out there looking out. We're out there advocating. We're the ones that show up at the legislature. We're the ones that write. You will see us everywhere, a little bit everywhere. So that's number 2 thing that you might not know. That even though we are quick to run towards danger and crisis to help whoever or whomever, we're also the ones that are the most reluctant to call for aid. I'll start very base. If we need respite and we need overnight care to help us with our kids, we're not likely to call you. We're likely to try to figure it out ourselves. We're not the likeliest ones to even use our own support system all the time. We'll, again, try to figure and work things out, and then we'll jump in and use it if we need to, but we don't want to burn bridges. We don't want to burn people out. We don't want to overwhelm people. So we're not going to do that when it comes to law enforcement. And I want you to think about the fact that minorities in general tend to stray away from calling law enforcement for a variety of reasons, especially in our current environment. People who are neurodiverse, particularly those who have autism or on the autism spectrum, or families of those who have autism, we're a minority group. We may not all be minorities, but we are a minority group in the sense that the world was not made for people with different abilities, right? If you've seen those cute little commercials where it's like where everything's made for a person who's deaf or blind, everything's in Braille, everything's an auditory thing, nothing is in regular writing, everything's made for a person that's blind or deaf or in a wheelchair, and it's not made for people who are not differently abled. This world was not made for us. Okay, well, it just wasn't. It was made for neurotypical people. It was made for the majority of people that are not neurotypical, neurodiverse. It's not made for people with different abilities. So because of that, we have to kind of work within the world system the way that it is, right? And as a part of that, getting back to my main point, we are probably more reluctant than most because sometimes we're double, triple, or quadruple minorities, right? I happen to be a African American female, parent of a child with autism in a county that is very fairly autism friendly, but the neighborhood does not look like me in any respect at all. And I happen to also be a physician, which is very interesting. When I walk up to scenes and I say, "Hey, let me help assess you. I'm a physician. I'm a doctor." People never hear it. They never hear it. They never hear it. After the conversation goes on, maybe a little bit of their shock from a lot of things wear away. Then they'll say, "Who are you again?" "I'm Dr. Bergina." "Oh, you're a doctor?" Like, that was the first thing I said when I walked up to you, sir, and asked you if you were okay when you got out of that car. But again, I'm going to leave that to, the trauma of the situation. But because of what we have going on, we generally will not be the ones that are just out and out going to be the first people to call the police or call for law enforcement or call for. Now, we're the first ones to take our children to events, ones to go and take our kids to the classes with officers or fire, or the first ones to bring our kids to the fire truck or the fire department so they can see what what the garb looks like. Because our kids, instead of running to a firefighter, "Oh, help, save me," they see this big person with this mask and they're breathing like they're on Star Wars. Kind of like I was breathing last week. They're going to run into a closet, they're running away. So we're more likely to try to educate our kids and take our kids to law enforcement days, special days, so they can see what law enforcement looks like. We're very big on telling our kids. We taught our son that what a police officer looks like. And so I'll say when we're out and about, "Excuse me, sir, I want to make sure my son knows who you are." "I mean, who is this?" "Police." "Police." "Who is this?" "Firefighter." Right? And he knows who's who. I want him to make sure that he knows who's who. So that's always important for us. But we're also fairly reluctant. Now, I am a special case. My kid elopes or wanders. I'm going to give it a certain amount of time and I'm immediately calling law enforcement. Okay. Law enforcement, immediately. I am a rarity. And I'm a rarity because bad things happen. We will talk about it a little bit more. We'll give a little bit more detail about it. But there was an issue right here in our county where a young man called for help and died as a result of that interaction. You've seen it all over. I don't have to go into any more detail than that. You've heard of a case, you've seen a case, it's happened in your back door, it's happened next door, it's happened somewhere where you know someone where that's happened to. Okay, raise your hands, put in the comment if you've heard of a story where a person on the autism spectrum or with a mental illness called 911, a family member called 911, an advocate called for help and didn't work out so well for them. They called for help, and when help came, there were devastating consequences. So there's definitely some fear, some reticence about calling. So those are just 3 things just to share with you about autism families, autism parents that you probably wouldn't know. Number 1, we typically are running towards danger because it's very likely that one of ours are over there, or we want to be that advocate that helps, you know, that helps and make sure that they're okay. So that's always huge. And number 2, we're also the ones that are very likely to kind of be overprepared or overtrained for certain things, and we kind of recognize each other and we give those extra. Again, I don't think it's unedited or unasked for advice, but the encouragement. We're kind of looking for ways to encourage each other and encourage you and thank you for what you're doing to learn more about us and our kids. And last but not least, we're often the last ones to ask for help, especially when it comes to help from certain authorities, the police, firefighters, because we want our kids safe and we don't want to call and ask for help. And then help comes and one of our kids are hurt in the process. So what can you do? Here's our little call to action. What can you do? What can you do? Very simple, very simple. And this, I'm going to stratify this just a little bit. If you are in law enforcement, okay, the 40-hour training or whatever training that they give you, it's a decent training. I'm not saying it's not a decent training, but unless it's an active, proactive training where you get to role play, where you get to see the most common scenarios, right? Kid melts down in a grocery store or some other public place and you're called to intervene. You get a call and you don't know if it's mental health or not, but when you get there, there's something that lets you know there is, but you're not quite sure at that point how to handle it. Number one, seek out trainings where you're actually going to have opportunities to process and role play. Okay. We do one such training. We just try to tailor it to whatever is already the infrastructure, but seek out opportunities for that because that is golden. So if you're law enforcement or first responder in any type, that's what I'm going to say to you. Seek out the additional trainings. Okay. Number two, if you are a layperson and you have no one in your community that does have autism, I'm going to encourage you to go to an event. There's so many, especially this month. It's August. It's April. Find an opportunity to go and connect with somebody, a family that's on the spectrum, and do something to educate yourself. It doesn't have to be much more than that from the actual person or the actual family. Internet doesn't count. I'm sorry, it doesn't count. Met one person with autism, you met one person with autism, met one family with autism, you've only met one family. But I encourage you to educate yourself. And the last one is, if you are on the spectrum or you do have a family and any of this resonated with you, I strongly encourage you in the comments here to put something to say, yeah, the point that she made about this or that, that's accurate for my family. Can't say it's accurate for everybody, but it is accurate for me or it's accurate for my family. And then share that with someone else who gets it, okay? Because the more that we share with other people that get it and they can let other people know this is in fact a fact, those are the kinds of things that will overwhelm algorithms that share misinformation. Because lots of the misinformation is coming from people that think they know, but they don't really know. They don't really know. Not that they don't want to know, not that they don't care, but it's often that they don't have a family member with autism. So they're trying their best, but they just can't possibly know. They can't possibly know the full extent of everything. Okay. So I hope this has been really helpful for you. I have lived experience, but it's lived experience as a family member. I myself don't have autism, probably somewhere genetically on there, but I have lived experience from that perspective. And so I'm sharing that. And then lived experience as a psychiatrist who gets to work with a lot of people who are on the spectrum, which I absolutely love. Absolutely love. Okay. So you all have a very great day, a very blessed day on purpose. And I will hope to see you guys soon. Take care.